Modern hypersonic missiles travel at over 1 mile per second, shielded by a sheath of superheated plasma that blocks traditional sensors. At this speed, warning times for major cities shrink from 30 minutes to just a few hundred seconds. This ground-based interceptor represents our current best defense, but it has a terrestrial limitation. It targets missiles in the vacuum of space. Without the resistance of air, a heavy nuclear warhead and a cluster of lightweight mylar decoys move at identical speeds, making it impossible for ground radar to tell them apart. Even advanced radar nets are increasingly bypassed by these cheap, improvised drone swarms. By flying low and slow, they stay beneath the gaze of systems designed to watch the horizon for massive rockets. Because terrestrial systems cannot filter decoys in space or track massive swarms in the atmosphere, the current architecture of homeland defense is effectively broken. This vulnerability led to the 2025 executive mandate for the Golden Dome. The directive orders the construction of an impenetrable, planet-wide space shield intended to be fully operational by 2029. The strategy relies on boost phase interception. By positioning weapons in orbit, the military can strike a missile while its engines are still burning, before it reaches maximum speed, and long before it can deploy its cloud of decoys. Ensuring an interceptor is always positioned directly over an enemy launch site requires blanketing the sky. Thousands of interconnected satellites must fill low Earth orbit to guarantee that every square inch of the planet is under constant surveillance. While billed as the ultimate shield, defense experts warn this represents the first mass-scale deployment of weapons in orbit. It is the highest-stakes military gamble in history. Tracking a hypersonic target requires a delicate laser mesh network. Satellites must pass terabytes of targeting data using optical inter-satellite links. But at 17,000 miles per hour, a microscopic misalignment can sever the connection, losing the target entirely. The sheer volume of data required for fire control cannot travel through normal clouds. Because atmospheric moisture absorbs these laser signals, the entire network relies on a few specific ground stations in the world's driest climates. This makes Pituffik Space Base in Greenland a non-negotiable anchor for the system. Situated in a polar desert, its exceptionally dry air allows the terabyte-speed data transfers needed to guide the dome's interceptors. The uncompromising physics of space data transfer have turned a theoretical $175 billion shield into a logistical challenge now projected to cost as much as $3.6 trillion. The $3.6 trillion price tag reflects a perpetual cycle of construction and replacement. In low Earth orbit, satellites constantly scrape against the atmosphere. This friction creates a constant downward drag, turning them into perishable emissions that burn up and must be continuously replaced. To justify this astronomical cost, the system carries a hidden sword. These satellites aren't just for defensive sensors. They're designed to carry offensive, bunker-busting hypersonic glide bodies, giving the US the ability to strike any target on Earth in minutes. The Golden Dome is a misnomer. In reality, it is a continuously rotting arsenal of offensive orbital weapons, hovering over every nation on the planet. For a military commander, watching a multi-million-dollar asset slowly descend toward atmospheric incineration creates a unique psychological pressure. Unlike a ground-based missile silo that remains viable for decades, an orbital weapon has a strict expiration date. This creates a use-it-or-lose-it dilemma. If a conflict arises while an expensive satellite is nearing the end of its orbit, there is an immense fiscal incentive to deploy its weapons in gray zone skirmishes rather than letting the hardware go to waste. The maintenance cost of the dome erodes traditional military restraint. It turns defensive caution into an aggressive countdown clock. Shift your perspective to an adversary on the ground. Looking up, they see thousands of American satellites passing overhead. At this scale, radar cannot distinguish a harmless sensor from a hypersonic first strike weapon. This is orbital ambiguity. Every maneuver looks like an imminent attack. This creates a reciprocal fear of surprise attack. Unable to verify if a satellite's movement is innocent, adversaries are forced to retaliate instantly to survive. By attempting to build a shield that makes nuclear war impossible, the Golden Dome forces adversaries to launch blinding first strikes at the slightest political tension. In the pursuit of absolute security, we have left the entire planet trapped on a permanent hair trigger.